Hey, continuing on with our review packet, we're going to be on one of the last pages there. How to define opportunity cost. That's what we're looking at. Some of the things there that'll be on the review packet, but also some of these things are going to be for the test and for the rest of your life. They're very important. So you want to pay attention. All right. First thing there, opportunity cost. Okay, it could be defined in three ways. You've got to keep those in mind. It could be opportunity that you've lost, because as soon as you make a choice, then you can't go back and choose that next thing because that time is gone. So opportunity cost could be thought of as opportunity lost. It can be thought of as your next or second best choice. And finally, it could be thought of as what you give up in order to get what you want. What you give up in order to get what you want. So there's three different ways you can use opportunity cost. Number two there, it's simply asking you about a personal question. How did you spend time or how did you spend money lately, and what it was that you gave up in order to get that time? Or what did you give up in order to get that thing that you could have done? And thinking about these things, that fits number two. Number three, earning money. The question is, what is the opportunity cost involved in a decision to continue schooling after graduation from high school? Well, if you go to college, you're not earning money, okay? Some people can work part-time in college, but most people, they go full-time college. They don't go full-time for money, so they're having to give that up. Number four, what is the opportunity cost involved in a decision to forego schooling in favoring of entering the work world immediately after graduating high school? Well, that's the thing. If you choose to go to work, now you're going full-time work. You can't go to college. Some people can take a few classes here and there, but it's really hard. So you're giving up the opportunities that a college degree offers. Those are the choices that you're going to have to make. Which one do you want to do? Which thing do you want to do? That's going to make a difference in life. All right, moving on. Number five there. This is a really interesting question. It says, would you go into business with me to make microwave toaster ovens? All right. It's going to cost us $500,000 up front, but we project it'll make $225,000 a year, but every year our cost will be negative $200,000. We'll make a profit of $25,000 every year. If we do that, it'll mean that we'll pay off our original investment in 20 years. So usually I propose this to the class, and I see a lot of people like, no, they shake their head because they realize 20 years is a long time just to break even at zero, and they wouldn't do that. And also, what's going to happen in those 20 years? Are microwave toaster ovens still going to be the thing? Is it going to happen for 20 years and then we get our profit 30 years, 40 years? Are new technologies not going to come along? They probably are. Things are going to change. And so this is taking a lot of risk to make very little profit. So no one in class really wants to do this kind of thing. Then I ask the question, so are any of you going to college? And a bunch of people raise their hands and they say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And I say, no, I don't think you should, because this simulation right here is just an example of college. That's why it was put in the question. If you just take a zero off of each of these, that's what college does for you. So college usually pays off in about 20, maybe 30 years, and that's where you break even. So from that standpoint, going to college really is pointless. Now, I know you haven't heard that from very many of your teachers before. That's the power of economics. It's not just doing the thing that the society always does. It's actually bringing up how you should do it, why you should do it, when you should do it, and considering it in an actual, scientifically structural framework. So let's take a look here. It turns out that if you live your life, we're going to assume you live, out there on 90 years or something, how much money will you make over your lifetime? And it turns out that if you start working right out of high school, you have a trend line about like this. It's pretty steady. There's really no opportunities for advancement unless you want to get some specialized training. And if you do that with trade school, you'd make a fairly decent amount of money. There's a lot of people in the trades right now that are making more than I am, and I've got a master's degree as a teacher. So they're really hurting for people who show up to work and can do a trade. Electrician, plumber, HVAC system, sheet metal worker, lathe operator, crane operator, all these kind of things. They make really good money. So these are the trend lines for those kind of things. If you go to college, you'll notice that you have to pay a lot of money to go to college. Whereas in the trade school, they pay you minimum wage, and then as you get better, they pay you more. So you're getting paid to learn. Here you're having to pay to learn. So even if you were making, say, minimum wage, what is your opportunity cost? If it's going to cost me, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 a year just to go to like Oregon State. So that's probably going to cost me 30,000 a year. 30,000 times 4 equals 120,000. If you finish in 4 years, which a lot of kids actually finish in 4.5 or 5, so 120 to 150,000, that's our cost for going to Oregon State. Now, what's your opportunity cost? What did you give up to go to Oregon State? Well, at minimum wage, if you're just making minimum wage for a year for 4 years, that's 22,000 times 4, that's $88,000. So your total cost to go to Oregon State is like 120,000. Your opportunity cost that you gave up to go to Oregon State, you could have been making minimum wage work over here on the purple trend line. That's another 88,000. Your real cost to going to college is over $200,000. I hope you understand these are big numbers. Okay? So that's your real cost of going to college, because that's both the cost, that's the accounting cost, and that's how most people think, but we're in economics and we understand there's also an opportunity cost that you could have done, and there it is. 88,000, 120,000. Your real cost, total accounting plus opportunity cost, is over $200,000 to go to college. I'm waiting for that to sort of sink in, okay? Because if you were to simply work high school, this is your trend line. If you were to work college, or trade school, this is your trend line. College is going to look like this. It'll pay off. You'll beat out the high school diploma person right around the age of 50 or 55. So if you get that college degree, it will pay off right around there. You'll notice that doctors are usually rich when they're old. All right? When they're young, they're working like crazy and they're poor. So being a doctor only really pays off right out here. And that's the case for a lot of degrees. It turns out that these days, at least, most degrees simply aren't worth it. Okay? If you're trying to beat out the trade school people, you probably could by the time you're like 70. All right. So if you just go straight college and you pay that 100,000 or 200,000 in our opportunity cost, you're really looking at payoff rates like this. Now, a lot of you are sitting out there going, but this was my dream. Okay, make it your dream, but make it economical. Think about things that are going to change this payoff line right here in blue. What happens if you go to community college for a few years? See? Then your initial cost is smaller. You don't have as high of debt, so it's going to pay off sooner. You could do that. You could go through the military and they pay for your whole college. In which case, the line's up here. You spend 4 years doing military stuff, but you get your college degree. You got a career in the military if you want. You got experience if you want. You've got a lot of options, and so that's a good way to go. So you'll notice here that, yeah, college totally makes sense if you go through the military. What if you get a bunch of scholarships or free housing or free tuition? It moves it up this line here. But if you pay full price to go to college, it's not going to pay off for years upon years, and it may never pay off. The tilt of this line is also determined by the type of degree you get. What if you get a degree in liberal arts? It'll never pay off. You will spend $100,000 plus another $100,000 in opportunity cost, and you'll make starting wages $22,000. You'll go to college and still be making something like minimum wage. You make $28,000, $30,000, $50,000, and by that time you're out here and you finally paid off college when you're 50. A liberal arts degree, the odds of that paying off are incredibly small. Think about what degree you're going to go into. Are you going to go in petrochemical engineering and work for an oil company? Well then, you might go into debt $100,000, but you get paid $200,000 in your first year. It's the highest paying salary. Okay, petrochemical engineering looks like that. So depending on the type of degree you get, makes college worth it. See, in this case, even paying full price, if you're a petrochemical engineer and you make it through there, you're set. All right. Now it's incredibly hard. It's incredibly difficult. The easiest degrees, right there. It's a liberal arts degree. You're not going to make much, okay? So you've got to understand these things, because you can't just say, I'm going to college. Like somehow it's some magical place where they bless you and you're like, oh, I get a good job and it pays tons of money. Everything depends on these variables and factors. So what are you going to do? What's the worst thing you could do is to go to college and not finish. Because now you've got all this debt, and you don't even have the college payoff down the road. Now you just jump on the high school diploma train, and you're trying to pay off college with a minimum wage. It just never is going to work. So if you're going to go to college, go all the way. Go hard and make it work for you. Crunch the numbers, do the math. Understand that life has certain realities, and you have to face them. If people don't want this degree, you can't just say, well, I'm going to do it and people just better pay me. No, I've met a lot of people that are working in minimum wage jobs with college degrees over here because no one needs those degrees. Whereas these folks right here, they're in high demand. Okay? And speaking of high demand, the trade schools, they're in very high demand. If you can show up to work, pass a drug test, and do some kind of skilled trade, you are golden. All right? So I want you to keep these things in mind. Understand that your guidance counselor for college is going to steer you to college, and the trade school people are going to steer you to trade school. And workers in business, they're going to steer you towards the high school diploma. Just get to work. You can be successful in all these things, but you've got to understand the reality, the rules to the game in certain situations. So that's the power of having an understanding of economics. What is your opportunity cost as well as your true cost, and how can you make decisions that are going to be the most beneficial for you? All right, so hopefully you have some questions about that in class, and we'll see you there.